Hello, everybody. So good. Yes, my wife did not divorce me. Some of you are like, it's not a sabbatical, they're in trouble. I can understand why you would think that, being married to me. No, it's so good to see you guys. My goodness. And you were left in very capable hands. We had some wonderful speakers come up. It's such a blessing to be a part of a community of churches and a movement. Everybody understands what page we're on. We're able to support and help one another. And so it's phenomenal. But Mary and Ellen and I, just so you know, we had if you're here for the first time or you haven't been to church in 5 weeks, we've been gone. We were on a sabbatical that our movement provides for all staff who have been 7 years in a place. We are now trying to get that to be a 1 month sabbatical every 3 months. We're looking at trying to change that. We enjoyed ourselves so much. We had a blast. We had a blast. We were spent most of the time in Sedona, Arizona. Anybody here been to Sedona? Is it gorgeous or what? My gosh, it was just breathtaking. And they got a little canyon up there in the northern part of Arizona. Just a little thing. I think it's called the Grand Canyon. That was awesome. We just had great rest, great recreation, fun. We were together, Mary and Ellen and I were together every day, all day long. Whew. She came back, she called Eastlake and said, I need a sabbatical from Mark. No, we did. We had a blast. If I don't have pictures, I thought, I'm going to do a slideshow today for everybody and show them the picture of the deers and show them the picture. I'm not good at those things, but Mary Nell's got like 13,000 pictures. If you hit her up after service, and she'll show you what's going on. So we had a wonderful break. We are so glad to be home. You are beautiful people. We really missed our Venice Church family. And so thanks for being you. All right, here's one thing that we didn't get a break from. We didn't get a break from elections. This last week, most of us were tuned in to the elections, right? And what's going on in our country. And in the room, even this size, we all got difference of opinions, don't we? We have different arguments that we bring to the table about why that person should be in and that person no way, and what policies we think are legitimate that we should uphold them, and what laws we think that are outdated and they should be overturned, and what parties we feel should best rule and govern our counties and our states and our federal government. We all have these opinions on who we think would do best and what we need to do. Anybody got an opinion on that? Yeah, we all have. So we're not going to all agree on that, but I know something today that we can all agree on, and something that I feel like we're probably all super glad about. We don't have to listen to or watch any more ads for a while on TV or the radio. I have been exhausted by these men and women who are supposed to be the cream of our crop, and we listen, and it's just nothing but just tearing this person down. Oh, John seems to come across night, but he's diabolical. And Sandy this, well, she did this. And it's like, isn't it just like adolescence where it's just fighting? And so it's just become exhausting. And we don't have to listen to it anymore. At least for a while. At least we get a break for a little bit. I think 2 years. And then that's going to be a fun one. Boy, that's going to be a fun one. So I think there are people in, our political world and so forth, that there are people who do it that really want to bring a change. There are those who really, they got into it because they want to make something happen and they want to bring a change. But I also know that there are a whole lot of people who are just in it to win it. It's this lust for power. It's a lust for power. In fact, it was Henry Kissinger. He was the late Secretary of State and national advisor to two presidents. And he said, power is the great aphrodisiac. I always thought it was oysters. I didn't know, but that's what's not working. Okay, stop right there. He said, power is the great aphrodisiac. Another fellow by the name of Edward Abbey, who's an author, an activist, I like what he said, it's true. He said, power is always dangerous. Power attracts the worst and corrupts the best. Power. So the series that we've been in, and I say we because Marinelle and I, every Sunday we've watched live, as it's being streamed. And so I want to give a shout out to all of our folks who watch every Sunday live. Say hi to them. They do. And we got to join and we're watching. We know the back of this row's heads very well right here. And one of the things too, I just want to say to everybody, as we watch the services and we're crying during the services, we're worshiping during the services. They get pulled off really well online. And what's happened here over the last month, we have a remarkable, I just want to brag just for a second on our team, on the staff that we have here, that is employed here, and more than them too, all the volunteers who come up and set up. It just ran so smooth. It's like I'm not needed around here. I just show up sometimes. They did a great job, and we really enjoyed watching it. And the series that we've been in, yeah, you could say thank you to us, right? They're awesome. Yeah. The series has been called DIY Gods, small case gods, do-it-yourself gods, right? These are gods that we have allowed to rule our lives as opposed to Jehovah God. And just in a way of review, the first week we talked about self, that I am my God. I do it my way. I am God. I sit on the throne and make the decisions of my life. The second week talked about desire and pleasure. My cravings, my lusts, they have really become the throne of my heart. And we can identify with that. Pleasure seeking, hedonism to a place where it's destructive in our lives. And then last week, Pastor Kevin talked about safety and comfort being the God of our lives. I need to stay comfortable. What matters most is my comfort. Therefore, there's no room for suffering or sacrifice or things like that because I just need to be comfort. Comfort has become the God that has been elevated. Well, today I want to spend a little bit of time looking at one other idol that's very powerful in our lives, and that is the God of power. The God of power. Small case G, the idol of power. But before we jump into that, let's look at the series theme verse again. This is a powerful verse, Romans chapter 1, verse 25. Now think about this verse as you read it. Think about what it's saying. It says, they, which is human beings, traded the truth about God for a lie. So, therefore, consequently, they worshiped and served the things God created instead of the Creator himself, who is worthy of eternal praise. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie, and because they did that, they went and served and worshiped and gave their hearts and their attention and their passions and everything else to the created as opposed to the Creator. And the Creator is the one who is worthy of our praise, not the created, right? So that's what idolatry is all about. And you've heard that term over the last few weeks as the other speakers have shared it, idolatry. We don't tend to think of ourselves as idolaters because we don't typically have, a cabinet we open up and we'll pull out our little gods and the figurines and bow down to them and pay homage to them. We don't do that, so we think that's something of ancient times. Oh, no, it's not. An idol is anything in your life more important to you than God. That's it, right there in a nutshell. That's an idol. It can be a bad thing, like sexual perversion or the love of money. It can be something bad, but more often an idol is a good thing that turns over time into the ultimate thing. It can be a good thing, a relationship, right? Can be that. A career, something that is good, but that morphs into the ultimate, the big thing that's more important than God in my life. Here's the definition I like of an idol. An idol is anything that captures your heart more than God and asks of you what only God rightly deserves. Does that make sense? We're all pretty clear on what an idol is then, right? We're going to have different struggles, each one of us, right? But anything that becomes more important than God, start the thinking right now. Start your thinking right now. What is it in my life? And you don't have to admit it to me or to whatever, but just kind of nail it right now. Even if you're not willing to call it an idol, think about it and go, maybe. Anything that's more important than God in my life. So, for just a minute, I want to look at the God of power that can take over somebody's life. There's many ways that power can be a very destructive pursuit in our life. So here's the first one, and that is the small g, the God of success. This can be an idol in our lives. The idol of success. Sociologists define success as this. I think I have it on the screen. It's this: the prestige that comes from attaining an elevated social status. I know this doesn't apply to anybody in Los Angeles, but we'll consider it anyways. The prestige that comes from attaining an elevated social status. This God, this idol, this small case G God promises us significance. That's what it promises us. Significance. Every social group that you're a part of, every job, every subculture that we exist in has an ideal of what success is all about, what success looks like, whether it's the right clothes in the closet, come on, whether it's the right amount of followers, whether it's the right car in the driveway or the right home on the block, whether it's maybe the right investment portfolio that we have or the right school that our kids are going to. Every subculture, every culture, every sociological existent thing that you exist in has an ideal of what success looks like. And again, a lot of these things, car, home, school, investments, whatever, they're not bad in and of themselves, but when they morph into the ultimate, that thing that we are looking to give us what only God can give us, then it's become an idol in my life. Can we see how we get idols in our lives then? Because some of us are busted already, right? And we're only like 5 minutes into this thing this morning. And we're like, oh, snap, crackle, and pop. I'm guilty in a lot of areas, right? I got them idols in my life. I'm just being honest. We haven't even told anybody else next to us yet, but we're nailed, aren't we, already? Because we're thinking, I got that going on. I want status. It's become very important in my life. Success, to feel significant. King Solomon, known as the richest and the wisest man that's ever lived in the scriptures, kings and queens, world leaders had come from everywhere to see his empire and to listen to him speak. He wrote a number of things in the Old Covenant, in the Old Testament, years ago. One of them was in a book called Ecclesiastes, where it's his ponderings and his thinking, his contemplations. And this is what he said. He said, "Then I observed that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors. But this too is meaningless, like chasing the wind." Talk about crazy. How often are we trying to do things to impress people who we don't even really like? But then they'll maybe think that we are something that we're not, and that we're coming across a certain way. The problem with making success your God is that you can never catch it. You can never catch it. Once you think, okay, I'm here, but man, if I had this many followers, or if I had this much money, if I had this kind of car, if I had this kind of house, if I had this kind of whatever. And so we think that's what success looks like, and we run after that. And when we get there, then we notice this person has more over here. And then so we go there. And that's why Solomon is saying it's like trying to grasp wind. It's fleeting, it's gone. It can never give you what it promises to give you. That's what happens with success. Here's another one. Not just success, here's another little god or idol that we can have. It's a god of power. It's called the god of authority. Authority. This is also known as the idol of control. I do it my way. I'm in charge. My way or the highway kind of person, right? I'm in charge. I'm the guy. I'm the gal. I'm the one. I'm the voice. I'm in charge. This God promises us admiration, that I'm going to be admired. People who strive to have authority over others are often deluded into thinking that they've gained the respect and admiration of others, when actually they've got people under them not walking with them. Don't have their admiration. The teachings of Jesus tell us that the greatest among you will be what? Anybody know? The servant of all. That the way to greatness is to run to the back of the line and be there. That's the upside down world of following Jesus. Like, oh, you want to be the one who is a true leader? Well, then you have to be a true follower. It's not like it is in this world where you flaunt it and your voice is the one that matters because you have the title or you've got the authority or whatever else. He's saying use that leadership in order to elevate other people. Use your voice in order to help encourage and strengthen other people. Admiration, which is what these folks want who struggle with this idol, is something that can only be given to you. It can never just be attained because of your title or because of your accomplishments. So if this is you, and don't elbow anybody. Friends, don't start texting, are you paying attention to him right now? Don't. But you know, right? You know, I know. If this is you and you really deal with that, it's like, and I don't like that you got to be the one in charge, that you got to be the one I need to be heard. What I'm saying is smarter than everybody else. What I have to say is this. If you know that's you, just keep quiet right now. Don't raise your hand. Here's what I want to encourage you to do. I want to encourage you to sow into the opposite of that. Break the back of that thing because it's ugly. It really is. And how do you do that? Sow into serving. Sow into serving. Invest into shutting thy mouth and opening thine ears and listening to people and hearing them and hearing what. Practice this in your life and you can break that thing in your life. The greatest leaders, in my opinion, I think in Jesus' opinion, the greatest leaders are the ones who are also the greatest followers. They know how to come behind people and support people. All right, here's the third one real quick. Third one, this is a fun one. This is the one you're all going to get excited about. This is the God of money. Once again, the sphincters just tighten right there when I say that. What's he going to say about money? Got to go there. Most would say money is not their God. We'd all like to act like money is not that important, but money really is pretty much our ultimate fantasy for most all of us. Can we be honest, right? To win it, to have the jackpot, to win. How many of you last week? You know. 1.9 billion? How many of you had fantasies about where that could go? Do you know what I'm saying? You're like, come on. That's like, oh no, it doesn't. No, I'm not interested in those things. Liar. You may not have bought it, but you could fantasize this like anybody else. Somebody saying, yeah, but really it's only like 999 million that you walk away with. I mean, Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes it petty. I need to tell some of you this. Okay, somebody needs to pay attention to this, just to be clear. You have a 1 in 250 million chance of winning that. 1 in 250 million. I see some of you are like, so you're saying there's a chance? That's a little nod to Lloyd, if any of you know who that is right there. And that's fine. I'm glad. I hope you win. You better tithe, though. And you tithe off of the net, not the gross, okay? I'm just saying. How many have heard, and you've heard that, money doesn't make you happy? How many of you know it's always rich people who say that too, right? Money doesn't make you happy, and yet how many of you feel like, I'd like to test that theory out? I'd like to see if that's true in my life. The God of money is more than often a chief competitor for our heart. And this is why Jesus, in his time here while he was teaching, 30% roughly around what he spoke about was about money and possessions, because he understands there's a pull it has on us. And it fights for the throne of our hearts as much as we can pontificate about how it doesn't, and we're better than that, and I'm in control. We have to understand how dangerous it really is to our hearts and to guard and say, I'm not going to. Why? Because here's the promise of money. The idol of money, the God of money, it promises us security. If I just had this much, I'd be okay. You know? If I had that, if I could do this, then I would be fine. I want to look again at the words of King Solomon, who had more money than all of us. He says, Ecclesiastes 5:10, those who love money will never have enough. How meaningless to think that wealth brings true happiness. That's just it. We just want to be honest. Wealth doesn't bring happiness or security. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying poverty brings it. It doesn't. But wealth does not bring security or happiness. Money is one of those things that we mentioned earlier. An idol, right, which money certainly can be, is a good thing that turns into an ultimate thing. It becomes our major pursuit. It becomes our major pursuit. I mentioned earlier that if having to be in control, having to always be the boss or whatever else, the remedy is to serve others with money. If you see this as an idol in your life, I get that. There's no judgment or shame. We're fragile. We're fallen people. And so we tend to go after the tangible. We're part of the they that exchange the truth about God for a lie and go after the created as opposed to the creator. We're part of that lump of people. If you notice that money is one of those things that it's like it's got you. It's got you and it's the main pursuit. Then one of the ways to go against that is to, one, acknowledge that you are a steward of the resources that God has given you, right? And you really want to break the back of that thing in your life, then begin to live generously. Begin to invest in other people, in ministry, in nonprofits, and begin to be a generous person and prove to your own soul that you are in control and it's not in control of you. Otherwise, it's just theory. If it's really not, it's like the guy who's, a full-blown alcoholic who is continuing to say, I don't have a problem. I can stop anytime I want, right? I can stop anytime. Well, then do it. Don't need to. But if I wanted to, I could. Right? Well, then just do it for a week. Why? Right? Well, the same person, money doesn't have me. Well, then give. Well, if I feel inclined. You ain't felt inclined in 15 years, right? So give. Break the back of that thing. Look at what the Apostle Paul instructs Timothy as Timothy is pastoring this new church. And he said, teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. Tell them to use their money to do good. They should be rich in good works and generous to those in need, always being ready to share with others. By doing this, they will be storing up their treasure as a good foundation for the future so that they may experience true life. That's just the scripture, so we need to own that. And listen, by the way, if you have a refrigerator, if you came here in a car and you have food in your belly today and shelter over your head, you're in the top 1% rich in the world. So don't think it's somebody else right there. We're pretty much, most of us all in this room have to adhere to this and understand this. Generosity doesn't begin one day, it begins today, wherever we're at. Okay. So, in fact, do you know and Holly mentioned earlier that we do the Christmas offerings coming around. We've done the Christmas offering for the last 13 years as a part of our community network. We got 7 churches and Venice, so we make 8. And every year around this time we give in order to forward fund the outreach and the missions. Do you know over the last 13 years we've given right around $7 million? Do you know what that does? I mean, that's been orphans. That's been clean drinking water. That's been food and shelter and clothing. That's been giving to people. That's been the home for the victims of sex trafficking. That's been all of these things that your generosity has went towards and said, you know what? It's better to give than to receive. It's the only investment I'm really going to see come back to me. And I'm just pleased, right, again, and during this time right now, we're not taking an offering right now. Don't worry about that. But this is a time where you want to be praying. If you're married, pray together. What are we going to do this year? You know, let's sacrifice. Let's do something that really matters and being a part, like what we saw with Fito in TJ there. All right, as we turn to close this morning, I want to look at the main verse again from this series. The main verse, Romans 1:25. It says, they say, I'm a part of they. Okay, good. 3 of you said that with me. There you go. That's good. Some of you are like, I ain't getting tricked into this. I'm not copping to anything yet. They traded the truth about God for a lie. So they worshiped and served the things God created instead of the Creator himself, who is worthy of eternal praise. It is saying that we traded the truth about God. Think about this. Break it down. We traded the truth about God for a lie. And then we turned our affections, our interests, our investments, our passions, our worship, our pursuits to these things that are created as opposed to turning them to God. We took them away from God because we didn't acknowledge it as true. We didn't believe it as true. What? That he could be all those things that our heart really needs. That he could fulfill our desire for admiration, our desire for satisfaction, our desire for pleasure, our desire for strength, our desire for purpose, our desire for security. All these things that are good. Hear me, because we're all guilty of this, every one of us. I'm guilty of this. I've been meditating on this week. Lord, where have I believed the lie that you're not enough? And so I feel like I need to pursue this. And this has become more important because I need this in my life to give me that kind of security I'm after, or this to do that. Where have I traded the truth about God, that you are enough, not to mention you're the only one who's worthy of it. You're worthy of my praise and my worship and my pursuit. You're worthy of it. There's nothing else worthy of what. I think about what some of these pursuits we've had in our lives, relationships. You know, give me what I need. Make me feel like I'm beautiful. Make me feel like I matter. And we've been bowed down to the created instead of vertical towards the Creator. And in our bowed down state, whether it's money or relationships or drugs or success, we have been bowed down, come on, and we've said, tell me I'm of value. Make me feel good. Make me feel like I matter. Make me feel like what I'm doing matters. And God is saying, no, you've traded the truth about me for a lie. And now you've been pursuing other gods, lesser gods, and they can't satisfy. Our lives are cluttered with idols. And again, I'm not saying that as, shame on you, you idolatrous fornicators, you, blah. That's not it. It's just a reality check. Oh my goodness. My life has been cluttered by things I'm looking to define me. I mean, we live in a generation, it breaks my heart with young people feeling like they're being defined by the likes they get. And I'm not judging. I'm saying this is our reality that we're living in. But then we have people my age who are trying to define themselves by the next raise or the next car or the next this or the next thing. And it's all empty if it's not him. And those things in and of themselves are not bad. I pray you succeed and prosper. I mean that. But I pray also that he's the only one that can speak and really give you what you need. Otherwise, we're going to be running in circles for years. And it's exhausting, isn't it? Because none of these created things have the ability or the power to give you what you need. And that's purpose right here. That you matter. That you are beautiful. That you matter to God. That you are his beloved. When we get that, then we can live in a world of idols but not let them control us. I'm going to ask the band to come back up right now. We're going to close, but I just want to give my attention to one other thing before we move into a communion and song. John was a disciple of Jesus, and John was really close. John identified himself as the disciple or the one who Jesus loved. That's how he saw himself. I'm the one he loves. That's a cool way to see yourself, by the way. And John is that. He's the only one who stood by Jesus, even at the cross. John is a true lover of God. John is also the one that God gave the vision in the book of Revelation to about end times and all of this. He wrote a letter to the early church. And the one I'm thinking about this morning it's called 1 John. And he wrote this letter emphasizing what was most important, hear me, about following Jesus. What is most important about following Jesus. And at the end of his letter in 1 John, it's chapter 5, verse 21. Hold on, don't bring that up yet. At the end of the letter, he doesn't even give a salutation. He doesn't say goodbye. He doesn't sign the thing. He doesn't do anything. He leaves it with one line, the end of this line. And here it is. He says, dear children, John 5:21, keep yourselves from idols. He's reaching out. He uses that term children. It's endearing. And he's saying, precious kids, listen, keep yourself from idols. Another translation says it this way. He said, dear children, keep away from anything that might take God's place in your hearts. John was all about this. If you read that 1 John, there's only 5 chapters in there. He's talking about the forgiveness that we have, that we were made for Jesus, that we need to, that love casts out all fear, that we're made perfect by his love, that we're to love others, to obey God and to walk with him and be children of light and not be swallowed up in the darkness of this world, but to exhibit his light through love and all of these things. The letter, he says in 1 John 2, look how powerful this is. He says, do not love this world nor the things that offers you. For when you love the world, you do not have the love of the Father in you. For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, our pride and our achievements, our possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from the world. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave. But anyone who does what pleases God will live forever. He's not trying to make them feel bad about this. He's saying, I want you to get that this life is temporary. In this world, and the things of this world are going to be competing for your heart. And something good can easily become something ultimate in your life unless he said, keep your heart from idols. That word in the Greek means guard. Guard your heart. Not going to let anything take it. It's going to belong to God. My heart's going to belong to God. It's going to be with him. That's what he says. And that is twofold. That is saying no to those things that have risen up in our hearts and they've become an idol. And we recognize it. And we go, okay, I get that. I'm going to guard against that thing. I'm going to begin to sow into the opposite. I'm not going to let anything take preeminence over God. And the other is to make room for God and to make a choice, even a choice this morning. Here's the choice. The choice is to say, Lord, my worship belongs to you. My heart, God, it belongs to you. My service, God, it belongs to you. My talents, Lord, they are yours. My life, God, it belongs to you. You are Lord of my life. I won't bow before anything else. Even though I'm tempted, it's hard. Man, it's so alluring out there. But every day I'm going to try to straighten up and say, God, I belong to you. Even if we say that and we feel so phony, we feel so far from that being real, but we're standing in faith and we're declaring it anyways. We're beginning to speak differently than we used to. God, I am yours. Lord, my heart belongs to you. Forgive me for the times I've placed my heart in other people's hands. I've gotten hurt by it. My hopes in a stock, whatever. Lord, all those things, my heart, my future, my trust, it's yours. Here's the thing. He's God. He's worthy of it. I want you to take the elements of communion if you're a follower of Christ. They're in front of you in that chair. You're welcome to join us in communion this morning. Yeah. You have that. Would you take the wafer? Hold that in your hand. This is what he thinks of you. Meaning he said, this is my body which is broken for you. He gave it all. He gave it all. He left nothing back. He gave it all. He says, my life is for you. That's why you can trust me with your life, because my life is given to you. There's no one who will love you like I do. He's like, I know what I've got for you. So would you just whisper that and say it out loud? But Lord, my life is yours. And then take that bread. Some of you might be thinking, oh, Mark, you don't know the stuff I'm struggling with or stuff I dealt with. Maybe I don't. I know stuff I struggle with. All these years, still struggle. Fight that good fight. Got weaknesses. Got certain tendencies. All these things. Get used to mercy in your life. He said, I need to be forgiven. This is what this represents right here. He said, I went to the cross. There's no more punishment for you. I want you to be forgiven. Ask God, Lord, forgive me of my sin. Forgive me of my idolatry. Forgive me where I have allowed other things to creep up into the throne of my heart. Forgive me. He says, I get it. I get it. I'm so proud of you for acknowledging that. Now receive forgiveness and let's direct your heart back to me. So would you drink that? Receive forgiveness. Would you pray with me? Lord, thank you. Boy, God, you are so patient with us. And you're so good. I just want to encourage somebody here this morning. I believe that this can be a starting point for something new in your life. Quit waiting to feel Christian. Quit waiting to feel something different. Make a decision today. Make a decision with your will and say, God, my heart belongs to you. Tell him that. My heart belongs to you, O Lord. Some of you are very talented. You got so many different talents. Would you tell him, my talents belong to you, oh Lord? Tell him that right now. Tell him, just whisper it. My talents belong to you, oh Lord. Would you say, my time belongs to you, oh Lord? Tell him that. My time belongs to you, oh Lord. You are my Lord. Very simply, you are Lord of my life. I give you my life, Jesus. Father, I just have a sense there's people here today that really meant that. There's plenty who really mean that. Lord, would you rise up strong in our midst? Would you rise up strong in our heart? We invite you to take the throne of our lives, the throne of our hearts. Help us not to be entangled in these affairs of this world and all the pursuits that are here today and gone tomorrow. Not to be captivated by things that are so fleeting, but help our hearts to be captivated by the eternal, to live with our greatest pursuit in life being the glory of God, that your name would be lifted over the nations, God. Your name would be lifted over every heart. People in our workplace, people in our gym, our children, Lord, our friends. We lift the name of Jesus over them right now. God, draw them to you. Draw every heart in this place to you. I want you to stand with me. We're going to worship the Lord with this closing song. And as we do, because it's such an appropriate song, would you engage? Lock other people out right now and just engage. And let's lift up this priceless, matchless, beautiful name of Jesus who has the power to transform. So let's take a minute and just worship the Lord.